it's another moment that's sticking out from Biden's speech yesterday. Take a listen to this.
In this campaign, you know me. You know my heart. You know my story, my family story. Ask yourself, do I look like a radical socialist with a soft spot for rioters? Really?
Well, maybe not, but the radical socialist wing of the party, they just keep winning, powered and mostly by young voters and the AOCs of the world. In fact, take today's primary contest in Massachusetts. You've got this young, hotshot Joe Kennedy with the backing of the establishment, including Nancy Pelosi, scrambling to close the gap with the incumbent, Senator Ed Markey. Now, despite his age, Markey has been embraced by young voters under 35, leading by nearly 2-to-1 margin in the polls as we head to the election today. For more on the role of young people, particularly in November, I want to bring in Young Americans for Liberty analyst Kristin Tate. You know, Kristin, I got to tell you something. AOC I think she is taking over the party. They've had a number of wins in primaries. They've knocked off major political figures within the Democratic Party. And I got to tell you something. When Joe Kennedy announced he was running, everyone said he was a shoo-in. He was the next Kennedy star. And it looks like AOC is going to crush Nancy Pelosi again. And this means if Biden wins, he cannot ignore her.
You're absolutely right. This Massachusetts race is going to be fascinating to watch because it could tell us just how powerful that AOC wing of the party is and who really has the power in the Democratic Party. Is it the establishment like Nancy Pelosi or those young radical progressives like the Squad? Joe Kennedy is backed by Pelosi. His opponent, Ed Markey, isn't just backed by AOC, but he has rabid support from young progressives. He got popular with them when he co-authored the Green New Deal with AOC. And now he has this kind of rock star persona. What's really interesting, though, Charles, is that the media's recent portrayal of Ed Markey is starkly different from what Massachusetts voters over the last 4 decades have come to know of him. I have lots of family around the Boston area. They know who Markey is. This is a 74-year-old career politician who up until recently was considered kind of boring and moderate. I mean, he voted in favor of the Iraq War. He supported the 1994 crime bill. But now he's had this complete image makeover because of the AOC wing. That is exactly how powerful they are.
Yeah. It's amazing, so you've got a 45th year politician who's being dusted off and rebranded as a newbie, the woke candidate for Democrats in the presidential election in Massachusetts. So, Kristin, I learned a new word, right? That stan. Apparently the stan crowd is what's propelling him. So apparently it's a mix of stalker and fan. And listen, I mean, they've gotten behind AOC and they have catapulted Markey to the top of the polls. And what I find interesting is just how much political power are we missing out on? You talk about the mainstream media, and then you talk about these stands and Twitter and social media. They're killing it right now.
The question, though, will be, will young people actually vote? It's very easy to be a fan on Twitter and to make all kinds of posts, but in the past, we know young people actually vote in very low numbers. That's why I'm watching this Massachusetts race closely, because the winner and the margin by which they win will tell us a lot about what we can expect in November. But to your earlier point, you're absolutely right that Joe Biden is in a very bad position because he's basically giving 2 separate messages on lots of issues. He has to tell the radicals in his party one thing, like he wants to eliminate fracking, and then those moderate voters who he needs to win, something completely different. And that's terrifying because we don't actually know what Joe Biden thinks about any of these issues, like fracking or riots in cities or law and order or incarcerating criminals. We won't know until and unless he's actually in office.
All right, Kristin, thank you very much. Always appreciate it.
Thank you, Charles.
And by the way,